And we are so pleased to have in our studio now a gentleman who everybody knows about the group that he leads, the Tuskegee Airmen. The Tuskegee Airmen. And there's an event coming up. Everybody knows about the Tuskegee Airmen. I knew about them before I knew what a plane was. And we are so pleased to have Ken Rapier with us, retired pilot, certified flight instructor, and president of the Chicago DoDo chapter of the Tuskegee Airmen, Inc. Ken, how are you?
I'm fine, Cliff. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's always a pleasure to have you. It's such a, it's so funny because the more time passes, the more the Tuskegee Airmen become even more popular and heroic.
As it should be.
Exactly. Exactly.
Because the Tuskegee Airmen the Tuskegee Airmen story is a story that applies to all Americans, young, old, doesn't matter what race you are. Mm-hmm. It's a success story. And some people say, well, the Tuskegee Airmen is black history. Tuskegee Airmen is the history of the United States. It's their American history.
Right. Yeah, it's more than black history.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. These are some very successful people who happen to be black.
Exactly.
Yeah, right. Which is another good thing, but it's certainly not just black history. That's for sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Give us a little background. What would you like before we talk about the event that's coming up on March 22nd?
Well, certainly what caught my ear was the conversation of the last half hour about Dory Miller.
Yeah.
And our war heroes being honored and recognized for what they did. And we're really quite happy that one of the original Tuskegee Airmen, Colonel Charles McGee, just recently was given his Brigadier General Star. Mm-hmm. So he is now a Brigadier General. Charles McGee is 100 years old.
That's great.
He's flown more fighter pilot missions than any other fighter pilot in United States military history. Over 400 missions. He's a triple war hero. World War II, the Korean War, and the Vietnam War.
Amazing.
Very amazing.
Amazing.
And, well, the orders for him to get his Brigadier General Star.
What's his name again?
Charles McGee.
Yeah, I thought Charles McGee, yeah. Okay.
And that's General Charles McGee now.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the order for that Brigadier General Star sat on the president's desk. My understanding is for a month. And the order wasn't signed until the morning of the State of the Union address.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we know about that. Yeah, that's great. Over 400 missions.
Over 400 missions. And as a fighter pilot.
As a fighter pilot.
And he's alive to tell about it.
Yeah, that's something. Oh, wow. That's something. What else do we need to know? Anything about that particular thing?
Well, just from my observation, I thought it was interesting that during the State of the Union address, the president awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom to Rush Limbaugh, which is good for Rush Limbaugh. Mm-hmm. But then when it came to a triple war hero, he was just merely acknowledged as being in the audience.
Of course, the General McGee?
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Of course, if I'd have had my druthers, General McGee would have gotten the Presidential Medal of Freedom.
Exactly.
And we could have just acknowledged that Rush Limbaugh was in the audience.
Yeah, really. Please. Yeah, that's very interesting. Well, okay, let's talk about this event coming up.
All right. And see, what we want to do, we want to continue honoring the Tuskegee Airmen, calling attention to the Tuskegee Airmen so that people will learn their story. Mm-hmm. And what we want to do to call attention to the Tuskegee Airmen and further honor them is have a cruise down Tuskegee Airmen Memorial Trail. Now, a lot of people don't know that Interstate 57, I-57, has a proper name. That proper name was established in 2012. It's Tuskegee Airmen Memorial Trail. Starts at 99th and Wentworth and extends all the way to Rantoul, Illinois. So we're going to have a cruise down Tuskegee Airmen Memorial Trail on Tuskegee Airmen Day, which is March 22nd, proclaimed Tuskegee Airmen Day in perpetuity by, at that time, Chicago Mayor Rahm Emanuel, and at that time, Gary Mayor Karen Freeman Wilson. Mm-hmm. So it's Tuskegee Airmen Day in Chicago and in Gary.
And in Gary.
March 22nd every year.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So we're going to show, we want everybody to pay attention to the fact that I-57 has a proper name. It's the Tuskegee Airmen Memorial Trail.
Right.
Of course, WVON always acknowledges that, but there are many media outlets that do not.
Right. Why might that be? So when does that start? What's the date and how do people get involved?
Well, it's going to be on Sunday,
Mm-hmm.
March 22nd. We will assemble at 8 a.m., starting at 8 a.m., in the Jewel parking lot on 88th and Lafayette.
Mm-hmm.
And we've requested that the state police will help to meter traffic onto the expressway so that we don't have an illegal caravan of any sort.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right.
And generally when you have road trips like this, the faster vehicles go first because, of course, they're going to get there first. Mm-hmm. So we're going to have the motorcycles go first, and then probably all the Corvettes and sports cars will go next.
Right.
And then classic cars and then antique cars.
That's going to be great. And what time does that start? When should people be at the Jewel parking lot?
We're going to start assembling in the Jewel parking lot at 8 o'clock.
At 8 a.m., okay.
We will probably start having people hit the road sometime between 9 and 10 a.m. Mm-hmm. In order to be in Rantoul for lunch between noon and 1 o'clock.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
So we're going to have a luncheon, mm-hmm. and then everyone else can, they can kind of mosey around Rantoul and see what kind of shops they have there and mm-hmm. whatnot, and then just come back on their leisure, mm-hmm. on their own.
Sure. Let's take a call for this gentleman who's given us all this great information. Chris, hi. You on Talk of Chicago. How you doing, Chris?
Hey, Governor, your buddy Chris from Oak Park. Long time no hear from.
Oh, yes. How you doing? Good.
Good. How's the rewire?
Well, I'm still with it.
Okay.
Right.
And you're great. And your guest. I wanted to just bring up this. The military paper, the Stars and Stripes.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
And the president has spent the taxpayers about $122 million for, when he goes and golf on a taxpayer's dime. Mm-hmm. He's talking about that's one of the cutbacks, the newspaper for the military. Were you aware of that?
No. What did he say again? What's one of the cutbacks is what?
The paper, the Stars and Stripes. He wants to cut that out.
Who wants to do that?
President Trump.
That's what I thought. I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
No, I don't know what that came from as far as where that comes from.
Yeah, it's quasi funded, but the bulk of it does come from the government. And the reason why he was doing it, they were saying there was an article about him a couple years back, not in a good light. And he saw that, so that's one of the, now he's on a little rampage of payback, and that's one of them. So if you could look into that, Cliff, I thought it was kind of very, very low, and he's always touting his respect for the military, which mm-hmm. I thank all the military for their service. My dad was a World War II vet, mm-hmm. and so look that up, Governor.
All right, and listen, thank you so much. I hadn't heard that. All right.
Okay.
Yeah, had you heard anything about that?
That's the first I heard of it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But sounds like we need to start a letter writing campaign or something.
Yeah, that's something. That's sort of strange that we'd have something like that. So what else do we need to know?
Well, we're gonna have the cruise down Tuskegee Airmen Memorial Trail, culminating with a luncheon in Rantoul, and then everyone will be able to just leisurely drive back on their own. It's going to be a leisurely drive down there. It's a 2-hour drive.
Okay.
So people need to kind of be. A 2-hour drive is not that bad, but
No.
it just depends.
No, it really isn't.
But it should be a lot of fun.
Unless people are shooting at you.
Yeah.
Right.
So we're asking car clubs, motorcycle
great.
groups, and everybody that wants to take a fun drive to join us.
And when I said shooting at you, I did not mean, I wasn't talking about out here in the street. I was talking about military.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then
Good.
for people that can't make the drive, we're asking them to just go to any of the overpasses on Tuskegee Airmen Memorial Trail and look for the cars that are coming by and just wave and give them some moral support.
That's great. Do you still do the? Because a lot of young people really got involved and got to understand what flying was about, because the Tuskegee Airmen would take these young people up some years ago. I don't know whether that still happens or not. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, sir. It
Yeah.
is still going on, Cliff.
It's still going on.
That is the Tuskegee Airmen EAA Young Eagles program.
There you go.
We're doing that on the second Saturday of every month. And we have moved. We used to operate, originally we were operating out of Meigs Field.
Mm-hmm.
And then your illustrious mayor decided to destroy the airport,
Yep.
so we had to move.
Mm-hmm.
We moved to the Gary Chicago International Airport. And we were there from 2003 until the end of last year.
And that was the second
Second
Saturday.
Saturday of
Yeah.
every month,
Yeah.
with the exception of first Saturday in August, which is Bud Billiken Day.
Oh, yeah, you
Out
can't
of-
do that.
So out of respect for the Bud Billiken
Sure,
Parade, we do
yeah.
it on the first Saturday in August instead of the second
right.
Saturday.
Okay, now, are the young Eagles still surviving?
Yes.
Good.
And we have moved to Bolt Field in Monee, Illinois. That's Bult, Bolt Field in Monee, Illinois. It's a field that it used to be Sanger Airport. Its identifier was C-56. Still is C-56. Mr. Bolt bought the airport and completely remodeled it. Top to bottom, runways, everything.
That's BULT?
BULT. And after the as I understand, the $1.5 million remodeling project was finished,
Wow.
the state of Illinois says, "Oh, this sure is a beautiful airport. How about we buy it?" So it is now a state-owned airport. So we were looking for another place to operate out of.
Sure.
Things were just not going as smoothly at Gary Airport as we wanted it to go since Mayor Karen Freeman Wilson's term was up. So as I was looking around for other airports, we came across the Bolt Field,
Okay.
and the airport manager, Mr. Mark Thompson, told me, he says, Bolt Field is an aviation incubator. So for those people that are interested in STEM programs, incubators are programs that take STEM programs from infancy up through adulthood, top to bottom, all the way. So Bolt Field is going to be an aviation incubator. So
Wow.
we are delighted to be part of that. And the manager shared with me, he says, this is a state-owned airport now, and we have a new governor now, and the governor wants you here.
Great.
Bolt Field is in Congresswoman Kelly's district.
Okay. That's
Congresswoman
good.
Kelly wants you here.
Sure. Yeah, she's great. That works out right.
So we're going where we're wanted.
So has that started yet?
Our first Young Eagles rally at Boat Field will be on Saturday, March 14th.
Wow. That's the first one.
Yes.
And what do people need to do?
Well, they can go to the Chicago DoDo chapter's website, www.taichicago, all one word, taichicago.org. And they'll be looking for youth programs, the Young Eagles program.
What's the age of the Young Eagles?
It's open to youngsters between the ages of 8 and 17.
Great. That's great.
And, because it's a Tuskegee Airmen program, people who haven't been out there, they don't really know who shows up. And I've had people say, well, since it's a Tuskegee Airmen program, is this just for black children? No, all you have to do is be a child between the ages of 8 and 17, and you'll be welcomed.
Tuskegee Airmen shut down a lot of white people.
and see, one of the things
I'm being facetious, obviously.
But now here's what the Tuskegee Airmen always say. We were discriminated against. Therefore, we do not discriminate.
Sure.
So there's all kinds of lessons to be learned by listening to the Tuskegee Airmen.
Absolutely. I've known so many people that there was an airport out on Pulaski or somewhere that I know some African-American pilots when I was a kid used to go.
Oh, Harlem Airport,
That's
87th and Harlem.
That's it.
Oh, yeah.
That's it. Yeah. That was my first airplane ride out there.
Okay.
And what it really amazed me was, gentlemen knew my parents, the pilot and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
But when he said, "Be careful, don't punch a hole in it," in the plane,
That fabric.
yeah, that's right. That's what? I don't know how many people they took up.
Well, the Chicago DoDo chapters program, we started flying kids in 1994, and we have flown over 14,000 youngsters.
I believe it. Yeah.
And many success stories. Because, see, we don't want all the kids. I mean, if they all want to become pilots, that's great.
Sure.
But we know that every kid doesn't want to be a pilot. So there's many, many other things that they can do in the field of aviation, and it's wide open.
Particularly now.
Open. Yes.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, there's a program. It's called Sponsor a Student Program, where individuals and corporations can sponsor a youngster for drone training. Youngsters their minimum age is 16 to get a drone pilot's license. For $500, they can sponsor a youngster in the drone pilot training program. And at the end of the program, the youngster will have a drone pilot's license. And this program is being offered at cost by RBS Drone Technologies. The cost breakdown is it costs $150 to take the exam. That's a requirement, and the cost is fixed. And $350 goes to pay for the materials and the instructor. So for $500, these youngsters can get a drone pilot's license, and all they need is a sponsor.
That's great. And would they call Tuskegee to get it if they are interested in this?
As a matter of fact, see, this program was just conceived a couple of days ago.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay.
So we're going to ask for the DoDo chapter to put a link on their website for this,
Good.
And probably a reciprocal link on the RBS Drone Technologies website for the Tuskegee Airmen, because see, when it's all said and done, our objectives are all the same. We're trying to help young people.
Yep.
And
I have known for years, when they were taking these kids up every Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
And it was great.
And the way we help young people is by giving them a reason to learn.
Yeah. Isn't that great?
If you want to get in, if you want to be a pilot,
Mm-hmm.
you need to know a little bit of math,
Yep.
a little bit of geometry, a little bit of geography.
Mm-hmm.
You got to have a little bit going for you in communication skills, because
Mm-hmm.
you need to be able to tell the air traffic controllers what you want
That's right. Exactly.
in plain English.
Yeah, right.
But it gives them a reason to learn these things in school. Sometimes kids are smart, but they just feel like, well, if I don't have a reason to learn it, I'm not going to learn it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But we're giving them a reason to learn these
Yep.
things.
Yeah, you certainly are. Just the Tuskegee Airmen, when you think of the history and all of the wonderful people who have been through the programs, peacetime and otherwise,
Mm-hmm.
it's just a great part of history.
Yes.
Certainly is.
So we don't want the history of the Tuskegee Airmen to be forgotten. So March 22nd is Tuskegee Airmen Day every year in Chicago and Gary, and now in Rantoul.
And Rantoul. That's something.
So we're going to celebrate the Tuskegee Airmen every year on March 22nd on Tuskegee Airmen Day.
And you meet at the parking lot. You start at 88th and Lafayette.
Yes.
Right, 88th and Lafayette.
Yes.
And that's going to be at 8 a.m.
Yes,
And
we're going to
okay.
assemble at 8 a.m.
Uh-huh.
And after we get everybody together and everybody's feeling comfortable, then we'll start metering the traffic onto the expressway.
Sounds great.
And then when we get to Rantoul, we're going to all fellowship and have a good time with a luncheon.
Now, that's going to be fun too.
Yes.
Yeah, that's going to be fun too.
So everybody should,
Yeah.
if you got a
Right.
fancy car, classic
Yeah.
car, antique
Whatever.
car,
Yeah.
come on out and join us.
Well, I want to thank you, sir. You